Yes,
That
I'll move
awesome.
right down here. So it is super exciting to hear that you started thinking about that design challenge. And where we were last time we were with you is that you were going to gain those multiple perspectives. And it sounds like you've done that with your survey. And if you want to share your screen, you're more than welcome to share your screen also, because we would just love for you to share, what you've gained from the perspective of others and just kind of how you captured that information and what you've learned.
Okay, so let me go ahead. Which one are you guys looking at? Okay, so let me go ahead and go into my email and find the information for you. And so just while I'm doing that, just so you guys have some background, for about 3 years, we've implemented data dashboards here, and we've had surveys that we send out to students, families, community partners, alumni, just to kind of an understanding of what um, we do and how it's working here as a three-pillar model for that holistic approach. And then last year within community schools, we did focus groups for students. And so we can go ahead, if you allow me to share screen, I can go ahead to show you, and then the kids are going to kind of explain what it's all about. And then we
Okay.
and then we can discuss maybe next steps. We are constantly taking like, what can we do better? What can we do next? But it is there for you guys. And so I will let you guys do your thing, kind of talk about it.
Okay, I'll start us off here. So this survey is kind of showing some data we've collected on like how students like feel like they belong like at school. So this data just kind of shows like if they have like a friend or someone they can like trust at school, like if they can trust the adults, if they feel welcome, like kind of just asking questions, like kind of more broad questions to kind of figure out like what aspect of our school those like problems may be in, so that way we can kind of expand and fix those problems.
And also here in Sherby, we do talk about culture, belonging, and care. We have questions about our project-based learning environment, and even our family engagement and support. So like how health leadership can support like families like during school, like having school activities, personal family situations, and resources for families as well.
And then when I was walking in, I heard a little conversation about how they were seeing trend data, because this is the third year we've implemented these. And can you guys talk a little bit about like the trend data you guys are seeing?
What we've seen in the data is from the overall data from what we've seen over the past few years to now, this year, is that we've seen our agree rates go up way more. Like for example, the question "I feel welcome" at HLHS, like I think that one went up by like twice as much percentages as the overall years to this year.
Do you have questions on that data,
Um,
or do they?
really, all I can really add on is kind of that we plan on using like the conversation cafes and the focus groups to kind of build off these and kind of do a deeper dive into them. So like for example, the I feel welcome or like questions like that, we're gonna kind of circle up and ask like why they feel welcome and kind of gather that like data from kind of a broad group of our students to just to kind of learn more, figure out if we have any problems at the school.
Yeah, and these students will have access to all of these questions and they can break it down by like, age and gender and different things to kind of answer some of their questions. So this data has already been gathered, but these students are able to, really get involved with the data, think about how they want to look at it to guide what they do later with the deeper dive.
Are there particular questions that you're already starting to think about for those conversation cafes or focus groups based on the data?
Some of the questions that we've kind of been like talking about is like how like kind of staff and student connections are kind of been the ones we've been looking at so far, but we plan on kind of expanding and trying to use most of these questions kind of being shown.
What stands out or what stood out for you around the staff and student connections?
Just I've seen like the rates are like kind of on this graph that students have a really strong connection with staff. And of course there's always going to be a few like negative answers and we kind of want to see like why those answers may be negative, those few, but also why like they like that connection and kind of how good the students collaborate with staff.
So these students also have access, our community schools equity council students last year did student-led focus groups. So they came up with a series of questions and they led focus groups with other students to dive into those questions. And so these current students then have access to that process and the outcome. They were able to present to staff. So they have access to that to just get ideas from, be able to use that as further data for them to think about as they're planning their deeper dive. And those students are still on campus now to be, thought partners as well.
Sorry, and my thing closed. So this is just a little bit of like what the student focus group questions were. And these were all questions generated by our students.
Yeah.
And then we did do random selection of students last year. And so we just really were like, let's pick 8 students or 10 students from every grade level and pulled them in. And then, so we really did get, answers from every student instead of having the same 20 or 25 students always answering your surveys. We really did try to make sure that there was from across the board at health leadership.
So then will you choose from some of these questions for this year's focus groups? Or are you thinking that you'll use some new questions?
Like a little bit of both. Like maybe some of these questions and then based on the survey data kind of come up with more questions to add.
And we have Michelle with us. She joined us, so we're so happy to see her. I know you're happy to see her as well. Michelle or Maria, do you have questions?
Not really. I think they have figured out. I think it's just a matter of then, the decision of which section of it you're going to focus on all 4. It's really, I mean, with the wealth of information that you have been able to gather, you can go in so many directions. It's amazing the work you've done.
And so can you explain a little bit like through the progression? I know like we have meetings like every other week, like what are we wanting to like, what's the end product? Like what, so like we can have an idea of like, what are you wanting to see? What's the vision of where this goes? Just if we could have some context. And I missed the first meeting, so I apologize. So they may know and I don't. And so if you could help with that, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. And feel free right now to ask those kinds of questions. Is it okay if I share my screen again? Is that okay? Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll go back and we'll give just a little bit of context. And it'll be so as far as thinking about where we're going is we are following this design thinking process. And so similar to last year, the idea, right? We started with thinking about how might we design something in our school that would be a way for students to feel more connected at school. And it sounded like at the beginning, before we even started today, that maybe you have an idea of something or you've already started something that you'd like to build upon. And that's great because this year's um as far as for our culmination is going to be a virtual webinar where we're going to have a virtual showcase of the student and student groups who are participating in the Student Connectedness project. And so with that, we're going to follow this process where we're gaining those perspectives. It sounds like you want to do a little bit deeper dive with your focus groups and maybe conversation cafes that you want to gain a little bit of additional information as far as from different to ensure that you have like lots of perspectives and lots of student voices and probably educator voices in within. And then the idea is to think about defining, right? So, what is it that we might want to do with this information that we've gathered? Is there something that's kind of bubbling up for us that we have an idea about what, something that we want to, improve upon, or maybe something new that is developing as a challenge for us in the school. And then it's ideate. So building out ideas, thinking about, okay, so here might be the challenge of where our students aren't feeling connected and we want to build that connectedness for them. And so then we start to imagine, right? We start to come up with some ideas for those students' connectedness, and then we put together that prototype. So how do we build that idea into a prototype that we want to try? Not perfect, right? You see that right here on the screen. Not perfect, just something that we want to try. So you build the prototype, you try it, and then you do some reflecting on that prototype, kind of like what is working and what's not working. So, we want to keep those pieces that are working and we want to change maybe something that's not working. Is that helpful? And so we kind of dove right into those questions, but really thinking about it, it follows this progression of gaining the perspective, deciding what you want to do, developing some ideas, and trying out those ideas. And then I'm just going to skip because that's what we've been doing today, is that every time we come together, we're going to spend a little time in this design sprint time. So we're going to come together with our student groups and share where we're at in the process. So each time we come together, we're going to talk about where we are in that process. And we're also going to share just a little bit of information around connectedness because the way that Maria started with us today, right, is she shared we're connected in our buildings in 4 different ways with adults, peers, purpose, place. And each time we come together, we're going to spend a little time on the research. And that's what Michelle is going to bring to us in a couple of minutes, is just talking about the research around being connected to our peers. And so we're going to spend a little time in research and we're going to spend a little time in design. And we come together for just an hour. So there's a lot that happens outside of these meetings. And they're pretty quick this year, and we recognize that. We're going to have some office hours on March the 25th, but we know Michelle's right there with you. And so she can come out to the school if you want her to come out to the school and you want, just her to be a thought partner, an in-person thought partner, or any of us can join you via Zoom. And then you see that we're going to have that virtual showcase on April the 29th, because right now you don't see all of the students. Explore Academy was on this morning and they have a group of students. But on the 29th, we're all going to come together so that you'll be able to see the different student teams. People are just joining when it works for this, their school schedule. And I'm going to breathe and pause for a second so that if you've got questions on that or needs further clarification.
Also questions? So I think like next steps are really deciding like the questions, right? And then from there picking groups maybe.
Yeah, I think next steps are kind of just defining what questions we want to ask and kind of just doing the deep dive on those questions and getting the results.
Because it almost seems like if we're doing a deep dive, it's going to be more than just like numerals, right? So we're going to have to spend some time analyzing what students say, kind of container building, like based on like what are the trends. So the analysis might be a little more than just like 1 through 5, right? So we're going to have to spend some time analyzing a little bit.
Yeah.
And just emphasizing what Jerry shared, that if at any point you guys need us with a question, with an answer, with a suggestion, please just reach out. We are here for you.
Thank you.
Hi, Kate and Leslie and Drake and Veronica. Sorry I was tardy. I had no internet. You should have
Yeah,
seen me stressing out over here. I was like, what the heck? But yeah, so a reminder too, just kind of building off of what Jerry explained to you guys. It's small hacks, right? So a prototype doesn't mean you have to build some humongous thing. It's a little piece of what you try. And I know that you've already heard, but this is like bigger than just here in New Mexico. It's bigger than even at Health Leadership. This is a national research project. So we want to be able to share with other educators that this is truly the way for like an intervention to help support students stay connected to school. So whatever you guys are researching on your own and trying out is what we want to share with the rest of the world. And I say globally because Maria has friends in Brazil that she's been talking with and all over the world. So that's kind of like the big giant picture, Veronica, that we were talking about with the students, and just hoping whatever you guys find, some of your research and the things that you try, it could be something really simple that we are able to share with the rest of the community. So yeah.
And we thank you for sharing your voices today because we're recording this, Michelle, so that
Oh,
and we're so grateful that we are able to do that so that we can capture already all of the wonderful thinking and the process and where you're, what you're going to do. And I think that it also just shares with folks that sometimes you're slowing down, right? Like, oh, we have some data and we have some information, but we want to dive a little deeper. And sometimes that's a place that educators go right by. And we call that like a root cause analysis, where you go and you dive just a little bit deeper. So we're going to learn a lot from just hearing where you are in the process. And, wherever you are in the process, come April the 29th is also where you're supposed to be. So if we show up on April the 29th and you're like, we're not quite finished, we're just starting to come up with our prototype and we haven't had a chance to test it. That's okay. Wherever you are is going to be okay. I just want to emphasize that also, that yes, this is a process that we're trying to move forward, but we don't want you to feel, that rushed in a way. Now, if you're like, no, we're ready because we do have this idea, we're just here to serve and support you in your journey, and it's your own personal journey.
I know you had a time that you guys had to log off. Veronica, can you remind me of that time?
Yeah, it's 4 o'clock that they.
Yeah, it's 4.
Okay. So, oh, we got this. Okay. So let's talk a little bit. Are we ready to move and see about what we're here to learn about a little bit and just kind of talk about today? Are we there? Okay. So, today's session, you're going to explore the powerful role that friendships and peer connections play in shaping your sense of belonging, confidence, and overall success at school. So, we're going to examine how relationships can influence our attendance, behavior, and academic performance. And we're going to consider practical ways to strengthen those connections. So, this will be an interactive space to elevate your voice, to share your ideas, and reflect on the shared responsibility we all hold in building a connected, supportive school community. So we're also going to ground our work in a brief design sprint that we just talked about to identify where you are in the design process and determine some of the next steps. So you've already kind of done that. This will kind of help solidify, I think, where you guys want to go, or at least lead you in that right direction. So I see that some of you already have like your computers. I see one with Leslie. You might have some pen and paper to write, to jot down your thoughts. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the research and just ground ourselves there. So, research shows that when students start to feel disconnected from school, there are usually some clear signs. You might see students missing more days, coming late more often, or getting into trouble more frequently, or struggling even to keep up with those assignments and grades. These aren't just random things, they can be signals that a student doesn't feel like they belong. When students don't feel connected, it can also feel and affect the way they are emotionally, right? So that emotional piece comes up. They may feel more stressed, less confident, or even less motivated. And over time, feeling disconnected can make it harder to stay engaged in school. But here's some good news. Connection really matters. So when students feel seen, supported, and valued by friends and adults at school, they're more likely to show up, to do well in class, and feel good about themselves. So belonging isn't just a nice idea, it actually helps students succeed. So before we jump in, I want to just really jump into our design thinking. Let's talk about three important ideas that shape your experience at school. And those three ideas are agency, belonging, and connectedness. And agency means that your ideas and your choices matter. You can set goals, speak up, and take action to make your school or community better. Belonging means feeling accepted, respected, and included just for being you. Everyone deserves to feel like they have a place and people who care about them. Connectedness means having positive relationships with friends, teachers, and your community. So when you feel connected, school feels safer, learning feels easier, and you're more motivated to show up. Okay.
There. I just wanted to make sure, does everyone in the room have access to a laptop? You're actually in, or are you guys sharing some?
So are you guys in or no?
Probably.
No, so we're all using, we're all on our like owl. Michelle knows what I'm talking about in here. So we're on the
Okay.
owls, so we're all on mine. So I don't know if,
Oh, okay. So that the reason why I'm asking is because we were going to use this, a waterfall, yeah, chat.
oh,
But
yeah.
if that's not the case, we'll just go through, every person the way.
Perfect. And then just to let you know, our other student, Sul, joined us. She was a little late, so she is here.
Awesome. Awesome. Anyway, so here is the question. It's the prompt. It has to do, it's connected to the agency, right? So when have you used your voice to help your peers? So if anyone is ready, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and share your thoughts.
Some thinking going on, so they may need to come.
Good. Thinking is always good, right?
Maybe like using your voice to like kind of guide your peers in a like better direction if they could be like messing up or getting in trouble, you could like use your voice in that way to kind of help guide your peers in the good direction.
Great. Thank you. Any other thoughts? And these
Um,
are such incredible ideas that we are, we're literally taking notes and recording what you're saying.
Um, Hello, I'm Zool, with Health Leadership High School. I think being able to clarify, using your voice to help clarify things for your peers. So maybe they don't understand something in their classes, and you need to help clear up the question or clear up the instructions to be able to support your peers more.
Awesome.
I feel like you can also use your voice to help advocate for your peers in case like they're going through something that they can speak up for themselves about.
Thank you.
I think along with what Leslie said is also if there's a language barrier and you're able to support being able to help out in that way, because I know sometimes it's hard with language barriers and having different
Mhm.
languages throughout the school, so being able to help out everybody makes people feel more comfortable coming to school.
Thank you. Excellent. Any other thoughts? So should we move on to the next? And so the next prompt is connected to belonging. In the prompt is what helps you and your friends feel like you belong at school? What makes that happen? What makes you feel like you are connected and you're belonging at school?
I, I feel like getting peer support or support from adults that care about you here at school.
Yeah, so to kind of add on to that, I think it's kind of like the relationships that just kind of make you feel like you belong, even if that's with like other peers or with like staff and like
Mhm.
faculty members.
Great, thank you.
Um, and maybe having spaces and things that help me feel like I'm belonging at school is having spaces where I can comfortably talk with my peers, or my teachers, because you can make relationships anywhere, but having a space where you can go and really talk to them or having a time specifically set aside, it really is helpful.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else? So, in the next one has to do with connectedness itself. And the question is, who are the friends, or perhaps a group of friends that help you feel that connection to the school, that feel, help you feel connected? And then in a more general way, what helps you feel supported or connected?
I'll kind of start us off here. What like kind of helps us feel supported is I think our student support staff here kind of really helps with that like level of like if you feel unsupported, like you have somebody to go to and kind of like talk to place you where you need to be to get that support or that like connection you're looking for.
Great, thank you.
I also think, just to add on to Drake, being able to have kind of different support groups to be able to help. So whether that be even just like peer tutoring, because sometimes it is just embarrassing to have to ask in front of the class, that you don't understand something when you see others do. So having that time to really be able to ask someone in private or ask someone in a small group, if for support, or even if it's just with friends, being able to ask them for support, it's very helpful. Um, I know also being able to talk with other grades is a lot helpful, because we are not just enclosed to our grade and just knowing the people in our grades. We kind of know everybody in the school, and we all have a mix so that everybody has a good relationship and we can offer advice to other lower classmen, or the seniors can support the juniors or the sophomores, and the sophomores can really support the freshmen and kind of show them the ropes around.
Thank
Sorry to kind of jump in here. I'm getting picked up early, but I want to say I learned a decent amount from this thing. I kind of got the like questions that we are going to build off of.
Awesome. And that's the idea, right? That somehow it prompts that thinking. And what is that we're going to hang on to and be the idea that we were going to work with? Thank you so much.
Drake. Hi, Drake.
Bye, guys.
Any other thoughts? We're going to go to the next thing. Go ahead.
So, just following up with what Michelle shared, she talked about agency, belonging, and connectedness. And those are really the foundation for us being able to attend, think about behavior, and course performance, because attendance, behavior, and course performance are those traditional indicators that folks have been looking at for a very long time. But as Michelle stated, right now, we're really doing a deep dive into connectedness at the Everyone Graduates Center. We do have a research project, and your voices are very important because it's the compilation, right? It's not one research project or this student connectedness project, but it takes the voices of many across our nation of students and educators that we learn from, because there's so much reciprocity. We share a little bit, but we also gain so much in this journey with you. And so one of the things that our director, Dr. Balfins, talks about on a lot is about connectedness really being a universal prevention measure. He talks about it in the way a universal prevention measure for attendance, for students being at school, being at a place that really matters. Because when you're in attendance at school and you do that in person, you have the opportunity to learn, connect, and grow with your peers. And you hear our colleague Maria talk about this a lot, right? She uses that word with, so that you have your with. Feels like they're trying to be with you right now at the school and come over the intercom. That happens. And then relationships. So a big part of, when you think about behavior is about belonging. It's that piece that Michelle really talked about, that piece where how do we feel connected with others? What relationships, what really deep relationships do we have? And you shared even with your focus group and some of those questions, you talked about that adult to student relationships that are in your building and that they're pretty good, but maybe for some students, they're not quite where we would want them to be. And you're trying to dig into that and figure that out. And that also has an effect on behavior. And then course performance. How are you connected to your classes? Which also goes back to the adult and student relationships. It's a lot about mindsets as well. Thinking about the mindsets that you have about your classroom, about your peers, the adults in the building. And that's why you see a shift in education, and especially like you have there at Health Leadership, right? Where everything's not just on paper and pencil, that assessments have moved to performance based, that things are more customized and personalized. And I hear that even in your conversations that you're talking about that, right? If somebody doesn't understand something, we're there to help build that connectedness for our peers. And so this is a day that we really want to hear a lot from you. So you may feel like, oh, my voice is going to be tired when we're finished here in just a few minutes. Um, we were going to break out into like a breakout room, and if you want to, so that you do have that little bit of a breakout, we can either stay in here and answer these four questions, or if you want an opportunity to go to a breakout room, we can do that so that you just have some time together to answer these four questions. And then if you want to share back with us, we can do that also. Or we can do what we did and stay all together. It's really up to you.
I think with me and Leslie, we think it's better if we all stay here and kind of talk it through as a whole.
We love that. We just didn't, we love to be with you, but we want to make sure that you feel as if you have choice, because that's part of agency and that's part of that advocacy that you were talking about. So we want to ensure that you have that choice. So well, you've got four questions here. Is there a question? I'll give you just like a minute to read over those and then choose a question that you'd like to answer first. We're going to answer all of them.
Either classroom community or joining clubs and activities. I think those are the two I'm best at.
I like the classroom community.
So we'll start with classroom community
Okay.
for 100.
And Michelle's taking notes for us. We created a Google Doc, and so she's taking notes also, even though we're recording.
Okay. So how can you and your peers help other students feel welcome?
So I think for me, I like to kind of talk to the student first or talk to my peer first. Maybe whenever I first see them, or sometimes throughout the school we'll have them come in for a class and just kind of shadow. I like to kind of introduce myself at that time so that they kind of know that they have someone there to be able to at least know someone while they're learning the ropes around. I also always like to have them meet with people that maybe I'm friends with, or I'll show them around to talking to the teachers, just so that they kind of know that they're not alone and that they're able to have someone there, even if they're not fully confident with knowing them, or that they're not comfortable with speaking with them yet. They know that they at least know that they're there, and that they, if they want to, can go and talk more to them. I also always kind of go and sit with them for classes, just so that they can kind of ask if they need any help, and don't really want to ask to the teacher just yet. And obviously, if there's questions I'm not very clear on, I can go and I'll help them to ask the teacher, but it's always just nice to know that you at least have someone there who kind of realizes you're there and is able to help you out if they need.
You are seen, right? You're seen and you're heard.
Yes.
Any thoughts on that?
I feel like kind of to build off what Zool said, I feel like honestly, helping a student, like for example, like getting them to like talking to them, getting them to go meet other people around, like kind of like to build relationships with people that they don't know, so that I can kind of just continue to build off and build off. And yeah.
Thank you for that.
I know.
I know if we were answering that question as far as for helping each other feel welcome, when you talk about sitting with each other, most of the time we're on this screen with one another as teammates. And so whenever we're able to, you're right, we like to sit close and be with each other, a small group setting and in a small group. We can relate to that. Do you want to talk about the joining clubs and activities next? That what I thought I heard you say?
Sure, yes. So I kind of like to connect with my peers at school, with kind of showing them the clubs that we offer, or the activities or sports. And I always like to let them know what I'm doing, just so that they kind of, because I have met students before who really like volleyball, but they're kind of shy to join volleyball. So I always tell them, oh, hey, I'm in volleyball. We can both try out together, so that they can feel a little bit more comfortable since I've experienced being uncomfortable at tryouts or being uncomfortable at my first time at a club meeting, since I don't really know anyone. So I try and be as talkative with the people as I can. And if I notice that they're kind of more into something else, I ask them what they're into, and show them. Sometimes we don't have the clubs that they really want, but I kind of try and show them alternatives so that they can still at least feel like they have an activity they can do there. Or I always tell them we can have the choice of talking to the principal to be able to maybe start a new club, since there's always a bunch of clubs that students are interested in. And eventually we do start opening clubs and realizing that more people like Dungeons and Dragons, and we have more people joining who finally realize, oh, it's so cool. Like, yes, you guys started it. So it's kind of opening up the door for everybody, whenever we start kind of talking to each other about things that we like, and talking to each other about things we might want to open up and talk to the staff about.
That is so cool, Zul. I've seen her going to volleyball practice, so I know she's doing that. But Zul, I just wanted to share with you real quick. So my oldest son just got out of the military, and my youngest, and he is going to college, and he is really into D&D. And he went to one of the professors to say, "Do we have a club?" And they said no. And they said, "But you can start one." He didn't think that he was going to find like a bunch of people, and he is now the I don't know, something master, dragon master, dungeon master, I don't know what they are. And he's got like 3 clubs that he's overseen. So just by him asking, so you're right, just by asking, sometimes it can happen. And I know your leadership is really good about saying, okay, if this is a club, let's see how we can do it. So thanks
Yes,
for sharing. Yes.
thank you. I know we always have. Oh, sorry. We always have, I know specifically Dungeons and Dragons because that was one that I was interested in. And, and we had multiple people who were interested, but they didn't see that it was listed as a club that we had. And they just kind of, I mean, it is a little bit embarrassing, or not embarrassing. You just feel shy because if you don't really know the staff that well, going to ask like, hey, can we start a club? Or hey, do we have this club? So I know I like to help people if they want to start a club, or or if I want to, oh, sorry, if I want to start a club, because it really opens the door for everyone else, and it starts building great relationships, because I know I got maybe 8 or 12 friends out of D&D just because I was able to open the door for them that we could all start up a club and overlook it together.
Cool.
And you never know. There may be some teachers or staff members that love it. I know my niece and nephew are older in their 30s and they have a D&D club too. So, you just might start an intergenerational club there at the school, which would be
Yes, it builds relationships with everybody.
Yes. Yes.
nice.
We're in here taking like a poll of who's into D&D. I'm like,
That's why I had this. I'm not, I don't do it, but I do have a niece and nephew who play every Saturday. So, yep.
Leslie
So,
and I are like,
whoops, go ahead. I'm sorry, I couldn't see you.
we just said me and Miss Leslie are like, nope, we don't know what's happening with this D&D stuff.
Honestly, I feel like really just when it comes to joining clubs and activities, I feel like you can connect with peers at school by just trying to trying to find something to relate to with them, to like find a connection between them, so that like when it comes to if I were to be if I were to be in volleyball and I find one of my peers who is also in volleyball, like, oh yeah, let me encourage you to go join volleyball. Let me encourage you to do this.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with us about experience, how you've experienced connections with your peers? Because you've talked a lot about how you go and start conversations with other to build those friendships and relationships. But is there something else that you want to share with us that maybe we didn't discuss today?
So I can share like what I see that they do. And so like Leslie and Drake normally don't like hang together, right? You guys are like you're different. But then when it for Johns Hopkins, I noticed that like they've come together. Like so I think it's just having like and they support each other. So well, like I notice how they sit in here and you guys are asking questions and they have like their little conversations first and are like, you say it, you say it. So I and that's what like friendships and connections are for, right? Like going through the Johns Hopkins process, they've created a type of friendship and relationship. And Sewell comes in, you know, from her school because she goes somewhere else, and they just all really support one another. So I think just in seeing that as an adult, I really appreciate how you guys because I'm like, come on guys, you can do this. And so I see that and I'm proud of how you guys connect with one another in that way.
Yeah, I see it in the classroom too, like students who like are doing group work or students who like maybe are struggling with something and students who like are have a little bit more of a handle on the project, reaching out and helping on their own all the time. Like, how can I help you? Like, can you help with your exhibition? Like helping or giving positive feedback. And so in the classrooms, I think students provide a lot of support to each other in being successful in their projects, providing language assistance or any kind of like help with each other.
I also think just to extend it, even just outside of our school as well, because like they said, I attend a different school. But even just when I come in, I'm able to start so many relationships with all the students who are even just passing by because I know that sometimes it's difficult to start. I've seen a lot of new students and maybe freshmen who I didn't know, but I've started to build bonds with them because it's scary going from middle school to high school. So I'm able to kind of offer them that little space or that help, or like they'll go and say hi to me and they finally have a familiar face that they can go and really talk to throughout the day. Of course, I'm sending them to class, but they still they still come over and talk to me sometimes. And I'm just even just walking around, I'm able to say hi to so many people. Because it doesn't really matter if you're in their class or if you work with them or if you really know them or not. You can start relationships and bonds with people who you don't know, who maybe they're intimidating, or maybe you just kind of see them every now and then and you realize you really want to start a bond with them because they seem really cool. So I know for a fact that I've been able to start bonds with so many of the students here. Half the school already knows me and comes and says hi to me, because I always like to give them that space to be able to come and say hi to me and not feel like I'm just bombarding them or I'm just a random face showing up to school sometimes or that I'm just working in the front sometimes. I like them to know that I'm there if they need to talk, or that I'm Miss Cynthia's daughter, or that I'm here to help them, or that if they need, I just yesterday I was able to help someone with the language barrier. So I'd like to be able to help them out even if I don't attend the school, because you don't really need to be in the classrooms to be able to build bonds with people. You can build bonds in or out of school, in the halls, in the classrooms, in offices, no matter where you are, there's always a bond you can build.
You can just hear your characteristics and your values just bubbling up, right? That kindness, that caring for one another, that humanity that you have, because those are all lifelong skills. Those are lifelong pieces that you will have with you. I know we get new teammates and it's the same, right? You're showing up. And I hear you say, I'm showing up for others. And I'm not just showing up for them in the space that I'm at, but I'm showing up with for others out in my community with other peers, adults that I see lifelong. lifelong. Thank you so much from like the bottom of our hearts for that.
And thank you guys so much for inviting us to right here. I'd love to say that we're all building a bond right here because we're being able to talk to each other and feel comfortable in just this little space of us talking for Johns Hopkins.
We agree. We agree. And if I could reach my heart button, I'd be putting some hearts. I know Maria will put some hearts across the screen because there is a lot of reciprocity in loving and caring for each other, right?
Yes, definitely. And I think everybody just sometimes just, we're never promised tomorrow and we're never promised anything. So there's no reason to kind of hold a grudge on anybody. You have to always just go in with an open mind to people going in and always have an open mind to creating new bonds and not wanting to close yourself off.
You have such wisdom.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And as we're talking about that wisdom, one of the things as we were talking a little bit about being online and social media, we want to make sure that we still end a little bit early for you so that you can get to wherever you need to go. We know 4 is the latest. But Michelle has just a touch more research she'd like to share with you just about social media.
Yeah, so you spoke a little bit. I heard you say, Zool, about outside relationships, right? And some of those outside relationships include our friends online or the people that we connect with online. And we know that's a big part of our teen population. It's a big part of our whole community as a whole, right? And so social media can either divide people or bring them closer. You've seen that. And when you use it to encourage and support and include others, you can help create a community where everyone feels like they belong. So there's some data here and some research that shows that it can be a good space. We know that it can be a dark place also, and a place where sometimes things happen that are not comfortable or that are not good for us, right? They cannot be good for like our emotional or physical selves, and all those. But we're curious to hear about like how are some ways or what are some ways in which we can build real connections with our friends online. Are there some ideas that you guys can share with us where we can, go from kindness in person to kindness online?
I think being able to, I know there's different websites or things like Discord or Twitch, there we're able to kind of even just bonding in things we like, we're able to create safe spaces online. Instagram, I love texting my friends on Instagram because we can make group chats and we're able to send out cute emojis or funny little things to make brighten people's days. So I think it's a really good tool for us to kind of support each other in ways that we all might need. There's also like just even texting someone you need, or two people at a time. It's always really, and as much as like Miss Michelle said, it's can be a dark space, but if we use it great, it's an amazing resource to help students feel comfortable and create more bonds and talk to people who maybe I've met a friend who's in the countryside and I'm in the city, so it's nice to be able to share how different our lives are. So if we use it as a good tool, it's amazing to be able to see how other people live and the cool things that we can share and all the pictures we can share because the life we want to share it with others and we want to share our joy with others, and not just have everybody in their own corner.
I'm gonna vote for Sewell for president one day.
Same. Leslie, is there anything you wanted to add about that? Like how can we connect authentically and in a positive way with our peers online?
Well, honestly, kind of build off what Zoe said. Like social media can be a great tool on if it's just used in the correct way. Like if somebody were to be not too social and they don't want to go out into public and make real life friends. They could even do it just social media. Like you can really make connections, build friendships and relationships anywhere.
Thank you. I love that. I was thinking there were some like cool ideas right along the lines of like sharing your voice and like utilizing polls. You could do that like in your Instagram, and really like cool things like setting up like monthly or weekly challenges, kindness week or motivation Monday posts, or tagging your friends of like, hey, here's a cool video, was thinking about you, and just pausing before we post. I think that's something that I really think about also, like, is it kind, is it true, and would I say this to someone's face kind of thing. So thank you guys for giving us that information, because it is a reality of where we are today, and especially with students too, right? You have probably like 1,000 followers or more on Instagram, and which ones are your true friends? And we know it's not going away, but we want to help support kids, and adults, create safe spaces and places where they feel like they truly connect. So thank you for sharing that.
And we just say thank you. So I just wanted to make sure that we pulled this. I didn't want to take away from our wonderful faces, but wanted to pull this up just so you know that there is that website that we've created with all of the information from this Student Connectedness project. And so we will send out all of the materials from today's session to you as well. But in case you wanted a quick snap of the QR code, your I wanted to make sure that we had that up there so that you can see it and go to the website.
Thank you everyone for being here.
Thank you
Thank
so
you. Thank
Also,
you.
thank you guys for inviting us. We really enjoy these meetings.
Now I
Good.
can send some hearts.
Yay.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. We always enjoy your company.